I think people just got sick of last year's draft class because even though there were some quality role players after the lottery, at the top of the draft, there just weren't many surefire, context-changing guys that you could build around. And I think the thing that has people excited about the 2021 class is that there seem to be some of those guys, maybe franchise-level players, maybe even all-NBA.
How many?
Maybe 3 to 5. 3 to 5 is a lot for any draft class, but I don't know that I could put a number on it because these things have to play out.
You don't care?
I wouldn't say I don't care. I don't know where you got that from what I said.
Lots of people would like to see you dead.
I think you're thinking of Kevin O'Connor.
If you're a fan of an NBA team that stinks, or if your GM has been pillaging draft picks like he's Attila the Hun, you might find yourself feeling excited about the 2021 NBA draft. There is some tantalizing talent at the top, but who can keep track of all these names? I think many of us can relate to Bob Dylan when he said, "I don't really know who this younger generation is." Seeing as your time is valuable and the pool of upcoming players is vast, an overview of the landscape could be helpful. This is The Hit Ahead, a glimpse into the future, a crash course to help you familiarize yourself with the names and the narratives that will define the 2021 NBA Draft. There are plenty of players worth paying attention to in the coming months, and we should hold out for the possibility that someone enters this top tier. But as I see it, these are 5 players that you should really keep on your radar from now until the draft. We'll count down with my thoughts on how the players project at the next level, who they remind me of, and what the big questions are for each player going forward.
Let's go!
Jalen Green is a 6'5" guard with a 6'7.5" wingspan and some of the more intriguing upside in the draft. He's one of 5 players who decided to bypass college and prep for the NBA draft on a select team called G League Ignite. Isaiah Todd, Daishen Nix, Jonathan Kuminga, and Kai Sotto are the other 4. The collective basketball world is going to be paying close attention to how this experiment goes because it could have implications for the future. Green has a cult following online, and that's largely because of the viral nature of the things that his absurd speed and explosiveness enable him to do on the court. Green reminds me a little bit of Zach LaVine. He has the ability to completely torch people, and he's a streaky, prolific scorer when he gets it going, but he can also be a little wild. His primary goal does seem to be finding his own offense a lot of the time, and when he's not involved in a play or he's away from the ball defensively, it seems like he can shift into low power mode. In a pro setting where total attentiveness and offensive flow are valuable, his areas for growth are going to be tested. The first time I saw Zyaire Williams in person was at a summer tournament, and at the time I had no idea who he was. But he's one of those fun players who is clearly special simply from the less than a minute eye test. Put it this way, if you like spider-looking freaky athletes who can guard multiple positions, shoot an easy 3-ball, and have some motherfucker in them, Zyaire is the guy for you. Williams physically matches up with our idea of the prototypical two-way wing. Aside from having some of the narrowest shoulders that I have ever seen, he's huge, 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan, long enough to guard above his position and athletic enough to bother everyone else. I've heard people point to Paul George as a comparison, and that would be a high outcome. He often reminds me of Cam Reddish and, reaching back, somebody like Josh Howard. Yeah, it is worth pointing out, there are a lot of Jalens in this draft. Jalen Rose must be proud. It's getting ridiculous. And speaking of ridiculous, let's talk about Jalen Suggs, the incendiary lead guard who's leading Gonzaga this year. Suggs gives zero fucks when it comes to seizing whatever area of the floor he's interested in. He's the most incisive physical driver in the class, and we've yet to see that trait fail to translate as he levels up. At 6'4" and roughly 200 pounds, Jalen was a highly rated dual-threat quarterback in high school, which might explain his comfort level with playing fast and still making sound decisions. He loves creating and finishing through contact at the rim, and he's demonstrated that he's a reliable decision-maker. Because of his well-rounded skill set, Suggs projects as a prospect with a high floor in the NBA. But where could he excel and push his ceiling higher? Evan Mobley, a freshman at USC, is yet another entry in the how in the world can that guy handle on the perimeter and shoot the ball history book. Mobley has been near or at the top of this class for a while, and it's not difficult to see why. He's a 7-footer with a 7'4" wingspan who can handle the ball and stretch out to the perimeter. We've had guys like this lately, players with insane measurables and tantalizing ball skills, guys like Thon Maker, Bol. Chet Holmgren is on the horizon for the draft of 2022, but players like Mobley tend to trace the boundary between novel and functional. Just because a player does something exceptional for their build doesn't mean that it's going to be useful in a game setting. Evan totes around an insane combination of height and length, but his directional speed is a bit of a question mark for me in today's immensely spread out game. The difference between Mobley and the other players that I mentioned, spare maybe Holmgren, is feel and balance. He's ahead of those guys in those areas. And the comparisons for Evan are tough. He's not as reliable or comfortable as a pop shooter as guys like Porzingis or LaMarcus Aldridge, and he's not as quick or as territorial as defensive monsters like Giannis or Jaren Jackson. He might be a slow baking cake, but Mobley will be too intriguing to pass up at the top of this draft.
Cade, pulling helpers from the corner. Cade takes a screen and works you over. Cade, he's a pick and roll supernova. Cade.
At long last, Mr. Cunningham himself is finalizing his audition for the #1 pick in the 2020 NBA Draft. You might be wondering, why are all the nerds up in arms about this guy? Well, for starters, Cade is a big playmaker, 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan, and he operates as a heavy load primary handler with incredible pace and poise. His size, feel, and passing vocabulary work in synergy to help him see and access the entire board, and there haven't been many, if any, American players in the past 10 years who have been as talented as Cade is at seeing the chess pieces in front of him and manipulating them to create easy looks. You're going to hear some lofty comparisons over the next several months. Players like Luka Doncic or James Harden are going to be brought up. And from a size and stylistic standpoint, this is fair, but I don't think that Cade leans scoring as much as those guys. And I think he's a savvier and more capable team defender at this point. This college season, we're going to be looking at how efficiently Cade Cunningham can carry a heavy scoring load, particularly with his finishing and mobile shooting. I think that he's absolutely on track to be the engine of an NBA offense. The shifting contexts of grassroots basketball, international play, high school, and now foreign and developmental pro leagues do a lot to shift our opinions about the talent that's headed to the NBA. We basically never go from wire to wire with our hierarchy intact. It's incredibly common for a consensus top 5 player in high school to slip to the middle of the first round, or in some cases, totally out of the first round or undrafted. Just as an example, these 5 players were ranked ahead of Jamal Murray. Contexts do a lot to reveal strengths and weaknesses in players, and for some players, higher level schematic environments present them with adversity for the very first time. So that begs the question, what will new environments do to rearrange the pecking order? Who's going to climb? Who's going to fall? These are some clusters of players to keep an eye on. The first group is a collection of big forwards. These 4 players each have terrific defensive versatility and have the potential to expand into more serious offensive threats at the next level. First is Jalen Johnson, the 6'9" Duke forward who moves like he's 6'4" and looks like he could be a defensive Swiss Army knife and an effective transition creator in the NBA. There's Scottie Barnes, a 6'8", 225-pound freshman starring for Leonard Hamilton in Florida State. He's an inconsistent shooter, but he has some comfort handling the ball and creating his own offense in the middle of the floor. Usman Garuba is a high-motored, savvy 6'8", 230-pound forward who also struggles shooting the ball, but he provides playmaking punch around the basket. He's the foremost international prospect in this class. Then there's Jonathan Kuminga. His two-way capability makes him one of the stronger upside plays in the draft. He's also 6'8", he weighs 210 pounds, and he has a 7'2" wingspan. Players with that type of defensive potential don't typically start from the baseline of offensive skill that he has, so his learning rate on the G League Ignite team this season is going to be a really intriguing thing to watch. Positionally consistent, sound defensive decision makers are important to have at every spot in the NBA, but it's not always enough to simply be in the right place at the right time. NBA players can torch even the best defensive looks, so sometimes there's a need for something extra. Somebody that can erase, disrupt, demoralize. These types are typically high-level athletes, explosive both laterally and vertically. Three guys to watch in this category. Yves Pons, a Frenchman, is a 6'7" shot-blocking machine going into his senior year at Tennessee. Next is Greg Brown, a summertime teammate of Cade Cunningham, who is consistently on the receiving end of dump-offs and lobs. He's going to be a freshman at Texas this season. And lastly, Isaiah Jackson, one of my favorite players in this class. He's a 6'9", 206-pound forward with truly ambidextrous rim protection ability. He's a freshman at Kentucky. Something interesting about the wings at the top of this draft, Jalen Green, Zyaire Williams, Brandon Boston, Terrence Clarke, and even Keon Johnson, is that they all seem to need to develop their feel for balancing a voracious appetite for scoring with contributing to an offense that is in rhythm and dynamic. Each player can be brilliant in space or in one-on-one situations. Who will be best equipped to grow as the offensive and defensive schemes deepen? It can take a minute for score-first wings to learn this.
I find the more you give, the more you get.
You understand that what I'm telling you is a universal truth.
I'm going to be watching how much ground Terrence Clarke, a player who at times reminds me a bit of Will Barton or Karis LeVert, and Brandon Boston, a 6'7" easy athlete who has serious star potential, can make up to potentially climb near those top 3 spots. Seemingly every year, at least one player lurks outside the dominant narrative and gets the whole league whispering when it's possible that they've been underestimated in the first place. Keon Johnson is another freshman at Tennessee and someone who could see himself creep into the upper tiers of this draft. He's a 6'5" guard with an aggressive, physical, and skillful play style. He's a man of thunderous hammers. David Johnson is a sophomore at Louisville, and in the past 2 years, his stock has steadily climbed. Josh Christopher is another one to watch. He's an ultra-confident, herky-jerky bucket getter who's spending this season playing for Bobby Hurley at Arizona State. The moving pieces will be fun to monitor as we work towards the 2021 NBA Draft. Numerous teams will have the opportunity to add a young player that could bolster their near-future plans. And in the meantime, I think it's perfectly reasonable to let the debate begin. Honestly, I think we've earned that much. Let me know if you agree.